What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news, and as always on a Thursday, this one comes in the form of This Week at Bungie, and they do talk about Season of Opulence, and the update that will kick this season off, and that includes some sandbox changes to the game. So there will be some changes to a bunch of exotic weapons, as well as some exotic armor pieces, and they're definitely touching some of the stronger stuff in the game, so we'll talk about that. And they've got a few other updates regarding content in the game right now, and some stuff to know about as we approach Season of Opulence itself. And then we do have a few other roundups in this video, guys, so as always, I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you do, a like below really helps me out, but otherwise, let's jump straight into it. So first up, they talk about the fact that we have Iron Banner this week, and this will be the last time to get any of the triumphs or rewards from this season in Iron Banner, but they do say we'll have some slight changes to Iron Banner next season, and we'll give you full details on what to expect the week before Saladin returns to the tower in Season of Opulence. So we don't know exactly what those changes will be, but Bungie will be mixing up a few things as we get into next season. On the subject of changes next season though, Bungie say that there will be some sandbox changes, and of course last week they spoke about the new raid that begins on June 4th, and that is when Season of Opulence launches, but they do say, for Season of Opulence, several notable weapons are being adjusted, and we want to ensure that encounters, raids, and other endgame content, for example, remain a challenge. Some of these weapons have been overwhelming that challenge, and our first choice is to buff underused weapons, but if we continue to push every weapon up higher and higher, it'll be impossible to maintain challenging experiences. This is not a full list of changes, but some of the most impactful changes. And of course, this comes in that sandbox update that'll be separate to the DLC content, but firstly, they say Whisper of the Worm was already adjusted in Season of the Drifter, but an exotic that can generate an infinite amount of heavy ammo is still a gigantic outlier and renders many weapons irrelevant for certain encounters. While exotics are intended to be powerful and novel, bypassing the ammo economy can tend to force us to adjust enemies to compensate. And this effectively results in sniper rifles as a whole being punished because of Whisper's unique ammo ability. So as a result, we're removing the ammo generation ability so that we can increase the effectiveness of all of the snipers that don't have endless ammo supply. So White Nail will now pull ammo from reserves rather than creating it. So we've got a re-nerfed Black Hammer, I guess. But reserve ammunition has been increased to 18, so they've basically put the ammo reserve back to where it was before Season of the Drifter. Pretty interesting one. Definitely let me know your thoughts about it down below. The compensation with the reserve ammo definitely will make a difference. But next they talk about Sleeper, and the reduction of bounced shot damage for Sleeper Simulant is already present on several important enemies, but they say we're now making this reduction part of the weapon. The difference in damage is too large between a single precision shot of Sleeper and an angled shot that pierces the target and then also hits the target again with bounced projectiles. Much like Whisper, we've had to adjust enemies around that potential. By making these changes a permanent part of the weapon, we can get it into a more balanced position, so they've reduced the ricochet and bounce damage, and that's on boss combatants, and they've modified the precision behavior. The total damage is unchanged, but non-precision shots are significantly more forgiving. It's a pretty interesting one right there. Sleeper wasn't necessarily on my radar for any kind of nerf, but let me know your thoughts about it down below. Next though, Lord of Wolves received a massive increase in damage with the full benefits of the shotgun changes in Season of the Drifter. This made it a lot more popular, but we got a significant amount of feedback that released the wolves activating on every kill made it difficult to control the weapon's ammo consumption. As a result, we're allowing you to swap between two states to control the output, while also reducing its output slightly. So PvE damage has been reduced by 20%, but the Release the Wolves perk has been reworked and no longer triggers automatically on a kill, and this effect is now triggered by holding reload, which is similar to the fundamentals on Hardlight and Borealis. PvE damage and range bonuses on this effect have been removed and replaced with a universal damage bonus instead. It's kind of a damage nerf there, but also a bit of a rework too. However, they do say Ace of Spades is pretty hot in the Crucible. The number of perks on the weapon, combined with the semi-permanent effect of Memento Mori, gives the weapon too many advantages compared to other weapons. Now that Memento Mori ends when you stow the weapon, you'll need to make a decision on whether or not you'll keep the weapon drawn to retain the bonus. So Memento Mori now ends if the weapon is stowed, and the PvP damage bonus of Memento Mori was slightly reduced to prevent two-tapping Guardians while Vengeance, and that's from the One-Eyed Mask, is active, and specifically, you need 4 resilience to survive this. However, Memento Mori is active for 6 shots again, and that's up from 5. It's a very interesting change. They're toying with some weapons that they've actually been adjusting, a fair amount over time in D2. Hopefully Ace of Spades is still going to be a pretty strong weapon, but definitely let me know what you think about this weapon segment that we've touched on. Next though, Bungie do talk about exotic armor, and they say along with the weapons above, we'll also be making some changes to exotic armor pieces. And primarily, they're paying attention to pieces of exotic armor that grant back super energy. So we're making some changes to how certain armor pieces try to preserve their power fantasy and still leave them as viable choices for difficult activities without making players feel like they must have them equipped or be at a huge disadvantage. So for Skull of Ahamkara, as well as Orpheus Riggs and Phoenix Protocol, they will all now receive super energy back with diminishing returns, making it rarer to get it full super back. Equally for the Shards of Galanor and Ursa Furiosa, they've had their super gain caps reduced to be in parity with other super exotic changes. So those will both be less effective. And then finally, Goizenvest has had its energy reduced from 15 to 8% for killing 1 to 2 Guardians. This scales up similar to before when killing 3 or more Guardians, and PvE energy return remains similar to before as well. So very curious changes right there. Of course, these are some of the strongest pieces of exotic armor, and there definitely, is a lot of feedback about them, and there will be some mixed opinions about this update as well, guys, so let us know your thoughts about it down below. But they do finish by saying, we're sympathetic about the fact that the changes we make in the interest of balancing combat and game design can be jarring. It was important that we have this conversation before you read patch notes. We know many of you have a lot riding on day 1 of Season of Opulence, and hopefully this intel will assist you in building the perfect monster killing machines for the next season of play. So there we go, guys, a few more details about what we can expect in the update in Season of Opulence. In terms of reveals, of course, because we only have a couple of weeks left, and Bungie say only 2 twabs until we get to Season of Opulence, so we are definitely going to start getting reveals very soon. A couple of current updates to the game right here. Bungie say last week on the weekly reset of May 7th, certain players were assigned EDZ as the weekly flashpoint, but all players who logged in after 10:30 AM PDT received Titan as their weekly flashpoint. And they say everyone should now be realigned and see the same flashpoint moving forward. They mention that tomorrow Xur's final invitation of the 9 becomes available to eligible players in Destiny 2, and unlike similar experiences that players encountered in the Dreaming City when completing weekly bounties for Pet Revenge, players cannot miss out on any of Xur's invitations. So players who have fallen behind may resume progress by speaking to Xur the weekend after they complete their current invitation, and from then on, progress will continue at a weekly cadence for players until they have completed all invitations. So just a quick shout out right there, because we will get the final invite if we're completely up to date tomorrow. And who knows, there could be a pretty neat reward for that or something as well. On the subject of future content though, and a little bit of community news, last year, of course, Bungie drew on members of the community to help guide and give feedback on the creation of new content. And that was in things like the Community Summit, but also in a more professional capacity, and that was especially in the case of Forsaken and the Annual Pass. But now popular community member Patrick Casey, or Holtzman, as you probably know him, is going to be returning to work for Bungie for another 6 months, and this is something that happened last year. In the lead up to Forsaken, Holtzman had a 6-month placement at the studio, and it's safe to say that community contributions definitely helped to shape D2 into a better game, so this is definitely very positive stuff. Of course, Holtzman is a popular content creator, streamer, and he previously worked with Planet Destiny, so again, these are definite positives for the game, and in this case, it does seem pretty likely that this is in contribution to the expected September or fall release and the start of Year 3's content, and that's supposedly going to take the form of another Annual Pass style thing. So yeah, just interesting stuff. Quick recap of a couple of things this week though. The Dreaming City curse that many speculated would end, or at least there was some anticipation of another cutscene or some kind of event in the Dreaming City this week. And folks really thought this because the final Truth to Power lore card became available this full curse week. However, there was still no Morozov in the Queen's Court, nothing really new there, just another empty Queen's Court. So does that mean that Dreaming City's story has kind of come to an end, just like that? Well, of course, I suppose it is possible, but I would imagine the Awoken, Morozov, and the 9 will probably factor into some of the significant story beats moving forward. And maybe we'll see that in Season of Opulence, or maybe beyond. And of course, potentially in Destiny 3, we're going to see those pyramid ships. And we've been teased about those many times in cutscenes, trailers, in the Queen's Court, but also from the Drifter and the 9. And again, these are supposedly linked to Destiny 3, so that'll maybe happen later on. But for now, Aldrin is another pretty big question, especially since he was shown off being resurrected in the cutscene. But of course, still, we wait. I've got to say though, I would be pretty surprised if Aldrin didn't factor into the future of Destiny. It pretty much seems like he's guaranteed to, right? But one thing is for sure, Bungie really have us waiting on to see what comes next. And I'd love to hear your thoughts below, especially on how Dreaming City and a possible end to the curse could work. That's if that's even going to be a thing. Either way, I would be curious to hear your thoughts below. But now though, as we come towards the end of the video, of course this week, in the 0 Hour mission, which is a permanent kind of quest mission like the Whisper of the Worm, we do have access to the Arc configuration puzzle, and there are a few minor changes there. And of course this will give you some extra Catalyst progress on the Outbreak Perfected, as well as progress for the exotic ship schematic. And interestingly, over on Destiny Roundup, Shackle Shotgun has rounded up a bunch of commentary from 9 Hydras who actually helped develop this. So I'll link that one down below. Definitely some pretty cool behind the scenes details on how they developed the 0-hour mission. Bungie Help did tweet and say that they're currently investigating issues pertaining to the Jubilant Engram duplicate rewards and are working on a secondary fix for those still affected. So unfortunately, despite the patch, there have been a few issues that folks have had with that. So it looks like we'll possibly get another update. But of course, the final Iron Banner of this season is live this week. So if you want any of the rewards for that, and do bear in mind, Iron Banner is up until next Tuesday's reset, and then it will go away along with all of the rewards for Season 6 before returning sometime after June 4th in Season 7. For now though guys, that is going to summarize today's video, so let us know your thoughts about anything we've covered in this video down below, but if you have enjoyed this one, a like is very much appreciated, and if you want to keep up to date with everything related to Destiny 2, news, guides, and all that good stuff, then be sure to hit subscribe and to turn on notifications if you want to keep up to date with everything that comes out. You can also check out my sponsor Into the AM, who have some really cool clothing in their store, loads of hoodies, graphic print shirts, hats, bandanas, accessories, and they do have some pretty funky stuff. You can save 10% using code Houndish, and the link for that is below. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in guys, and whatever you do, I hope you have an awesome day.